Reporter, columnist, editor at the Montreal Gazette, the rapper James Mennie is on Montreal Now. Hi, James.
Hey, Trudy.
Hey, always a delight to talk to James because he really does have his finger on the pulse and probably all over a number of other things going on in.
Well, they get a little grubby every now and then, Trudy, but it's this is not a pretty business. So as long as you wash your hands regularly, you should be okay.
A little hand sanitizer,
There you go.
All right, let's talk about Francois Legault, least popular premier in Canada.
Yeah. Angus Reid does these quarterly polls, right? And they look at all the premiers and their popularity. And I have to tell you, the last time this happened to Francois Legault was back in December of 2023. And it was not good. He was only polling 31%, which made him the least popular premier in Canada at that point in time. And then between, I guess, the tariffs and whatever, he came back. He was second least popular, third least popular. But I got to tell you, he came roaring back in this latest survey. Not only is he the least popular premier in Canada, whereas in 2003 he was at 31%, he is now at 25%, a drop of 13 points from the last quarter. The apparently untouchable Wab Kinew, who's the premier of Manitoba, people just love this guy. He's polling 68%, and God knows, because of the sense of urgency and the need for leadership by the wildfires out there, his popularity is just through the roof. But I just can't get over the fact that Francois Legault, he had remember that horrendous October, I think in 2023, when he lost the by-election after it was clear that he had fibbed about, the whole third link thing. And things have just been going downhill ever since, Trudy. Whether it's the polling numbers, they're trailing. At one point, they were even trailing the Quebec Liberals, who don't have a leader, but they're still double digits behind the PQ. They hold 89 seats in the 125-seat legislature. However, the PQ, with all 5 of its seats, is at least 10 points ahead of the Coalition Avenir Québec. And despite the fact, Trudy, that Francois Legault keeps saying he will hang on to the leadership, he will seek a third term in next year's general election, I would be very, very surprised if he does so. In fact, I'd be very, very surprised if he's still around next spring.
Oh, do you see anybody waiting in the wings, James?
That's the problem, though, eh? It's not a very deep bench. You have people like Pierre Fitzgibbon, who decided to leave. And apart from that, I'm looking. They had mentioned Geneviève Guilbeault as she was the deputy premier of Quebec, and she might be able to lead the party. But she's had some problems of her own as transport minister. If only because she was having pictures taken of herself not wearing a seatbelt while she was on a vehicle. But apart from that, and I don't mean this as a slight. But the fact is, he's got a very big bench there with those 89 MNAs, but it's not very deep. And there was nobody. And indeed, you would think someone like, Christiane Dubé, Minister of Health, former VP over at the KZD poll, well, he's leaving politics. This is his last term, right? So it's going to be very, very problematic. I, for one, would be very surprised even if we see or at least this version of the Coalition Avenir Québec, after 2026. I mean, anything can happen, but quite frankly, I'd say right now, enjoy it, he said, making air quotes, while you can, because this may be the last time you get to deal with a CAQ government in Quebec.
That's interesting. Okay, third link. Where are we talking about it again,
well, this
James?
is the thing, right? This is the thing that caused all the problems. But let's look at a larger element of the Coalition Avenir Québec. Ever since they got elected, and indeed they never got elected on this, but they've been dredging it up ever since 2018, which is Quebec is under siege. Quebec is being threatened by somebody, by immigrants, by Anglos, by people who don't look or sound like you, by the rest of the world that surrounds you in this ocean of relentless English. However, this whole debacle with the third link between Quebec City and Lévis, which is what they had run on in the last election in 2022. And by 2023, they knew it wasn't going to happen, and it became clear that perhaps they knew that it was never going to happen. And that's when things went south for the Coalition Avenir Quebec. But they won't leave it alone. And today, the CAQ government, interestingly, the CAQ government, while Francois Legault is over in Paris, France, trying to sell Quebec stuff, his government unveils their project for the third link. The last time, there have been a couple of versions there, Trudy. They tried a tunnel, didn't work. They tried a bridge, didn't work. What are they going to do now? A tunnel and a bridge, Trudy. There'll be two spans in one, linking the provincial capital with the beautiful and teeming metropolis of Lévis across the way. It's going to take a lot of work, and the tunnel is going to go right under Quebec City to hook up with Highway 40. They're going to have to build some, on the Lévis side, they're going to have to build an extension of Highway 20, pass, I guess, through or over or under the 132 to get this whole thing together. How much does it cost, you ask? Nobody knows. Nobody's throwing numbers around. I guess they'll save this for their election campaign. Although, frankly, once again, I would be surprised if we even hear about this again, given the faltering fortunes of the CAQ and Francois Legault. But you got to at least give them an E for effort. They keep coming back. No, they keep.
We're calling it effort and not insanity.
Well, there's that too, because they say if you do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity. Well, here this is also the definition, I guess, of political insanity, because they're also thinking. See, the whole problem is, guys, it wasn't because it wasn't a bridge or a tunnel or a bridge tunnel. The idea was you said you were going to do it. Then it became clear you were never going to do it. And since then, they've been playing catch-up. No, that wasn't true. This time, no, for sure, really, we're going to build you a bridge tunnel, although we haven't told you how much it's going to cost. And that credibility, such as it is shot. So whether it's a link between two cities in Quebec, whether it's any policy, and virtually every policy that has been broached by this government has failed in one way or another. And as I've said repeatedly on the show there, Trudy, I can only hope that the damage that the CAQ has done and continues to do to Quebec will not outlast the party's existence, will be something that the next government, whoever it is, will be able to undo. I may be ridiculously optimistic on this. I just hope that we can, to a certain extent, if only, Trudy, eliminating the complete normalization of illegal discrimination in this province.
Oh, yes.
Get rid of that.
That too, yeah.
If we can get rid of the smarmy use of the notwithstanding clause, which isn't a made-in-Quebec problem, I grant you, but it certainly is an indicator and a warning, not just to Quebecers, but the rest of the country, that, you can elect anybody who can turn around and take away your freedoms tomorrow and say, it's what the majority want. You don't like it? Vote us out.
James,
but you got to put up with them for 5 years.
James, I'm going to add a title to, reporter, columnist, editor of the Montreal, cockeyed optimist. That's our James Mennie. Yeah. All right.
Oh, man.
Jim, thanks for your time.
Okay, à demain, Trudy. Pleasure talking to you.
À demain.